It is UFC 312 fight week, Dricus Du Plessis versus Sean Strickland 2, and it wouldn't be a Sean Strickland fight week without Strickland absolutely humiliating himself in a slew of interviews in the lead up to the fights. We're going to take a look at a bunch of different clips. We're going to check out Strickland's interview with ESPN. We're going to check out his interview with DC. We're going to check out his Unhinged press conference and media day, where he lashes out against Khamzat Chimaev. But throughout all these interviews, he makes himself look like a hypocrite. He makes a bunch of excuses for why he lost to Dricus Du Plessis in the first fight, and the excuse is not backed up by reality. And on top of all that, just the cherry on the top, Belal Muhammad absolutely humiliates Sean Strickland and calls out exactly what he is in a tweet, which we're going to take a look at as well. But there's a lot to get into. I mean, we're going to look at a lot of different stuff in this video. We're going to check out the ESPN interview. We're going to check out the DC interview. We're going to check out the media day, okay? We're going to check out a Khamzat Chimaev interview as well, because Sean keeps going after Khamzat Chimaev, and we're going to find out the real backstory of what's going on with Sean Strickland and Khamzat Chimaev, because Khamzat exposes him in this interview from a year ago. We're also going to check out an interview with the Schmo, where you really find out Sean Strickland's mindset for a potential matchup with Khamzat Chimaev. But let's jump right into it. We got a lot more than even just that to check out, but I want to get to it right away. This is just a funny clip from the ESPN interview. Listen to this.
You do it.
Yeah.
Why?
I've never watched a fight of mine ever.
Ever?
Ever. No, I don't watch my fights.
You've literally never watched, up until this point, you've never, any, like earlier in your career, ever?
Maybe if I have a cool stoppage, I might watch a highlight of it to repost, but like, no, I just do low self-esteem. Even when I'm doing things right, in my head, I'm doing things wrong.
He's never rewatched one of his fights up until recently. Yeah, neither has anybody else, Sean. They're boring jab and teep fest. Imagine saying, you know what am I going to do? There's no UFC this weekend. Oh, let's watch Strickland versus Costa. Let's watch that back. It's jab and teep fest. The only exciting fight that Strickland's ever had is really against DDP, and it wasn't even that exciting. It was a boring DDP fight. Let's put it that way. I thought that was interesting. And in this interview, he really just gets into a lot of excuses that simply aren't true. We're going to kind of listen to all of them, and then I'll easily debunk them with one slow-mo video from UFC 297 when he initially fight Dricus Du Plessis, because throughout these interviews, he makes excuses. He makes himself look like a hypocrite. We're going to listen to a lot of stuff, and then I'm going to easily debunk them. Listen to this.
Bit of it.
You know, the hard thing was when I got that cut, it really changed the dynamic of the fight. But I just think with this fight, it just needs to be a dog fight. More pressure, less skill. You know, even like you watch some of my fights where I've lost a close decision, and you go and you tally the strikes, tally the significant strikes. Look at his face after, look at my face after.
This is the epitome of the dumbest MMA fans. First off, he's blaming the cut. Well, we'll get to that, and we'll come back to that. Man, if you tally the significant strikes, if you look at his face and you look at mine, that's quite literally not how it works, you brain-dead idiot. But let's carry on.
And the judging criteria isn't like boxing. Boxing, you can be a Mayweather, you can pick a guy apart, and they could be like, damn, dude, that was some clean boxing.
Dude's crying about the judging criteria because he talks about, we're going to go to war, brother. I'm going to bleed for you guys, brother. But then he goes out and jabs and teeps and loses on the scorecards because he backs up like a little bitch the entire time, like a beta male pussy soy boy. Okay? And he talks about the cut there, but more in a second. He blames it even more on the cut. And what does he call that cut? What is that cut from, guys? Do you guys remember? Because nobody even exposes this. I don't know why, but listen to this.
Another interview that he mentioned at the end of the fight, like you say it's got to be more of a dog fight. He said you got out-dogged, and he said that you recognized that. Like he looked over at you.
It was more the cut. Like at the end of the day, dude, you get, I mean, they had that headbutt, they had to stitch muscle.
That headbutt, they had to stitch muscle. Remember, it's a headbutt, guys.
It was so deep. And I'm a man of vision. You know, you take my vision, it's like, there we go. So it's like, it's not that. It's, you know, let me take a pint of blood, put it in your eye, and let me see how you feel. You know?
Yeah.
So the cut is what lost him the fight because there was a headbutt, boys. Okay? Now, if you watch my channel in January, February of 2024, you would already know this. It was a right hand that cut open Strickland. It was not a headbutt, and here's the evidence to prove it right here. This right hand, as soon as I hit play on this video, this right hand is what cut Sean Strickland open. He says this cut is what lost him the fight. So if you use that logic and you realize it's not a head clash that caused the cut, it's a right hand, that means Sean Strickland, instead of being robbed by the liberal judges, that would mean he actually lost. So let's confirm. Did he actually get hit with a punch, or was it a headbutt? Lands right there. Boom. Right? And watch. I want you guys to watch closely here, because in a second, you'll see the blood start pouring out of the eye. I know you really can't see it right now. I'm going to rewind it again real quick so you can see exactly where it lands. Look. See, it lands right on the top of this eye, on this top of this left eye. Dricus is right. And watch in a second. Ready? You'll see in a second. Watch Sean. Now, I want you to watch that eye. Watch Sean kind of wince with that eye. Right there. You seen that? And then watch. You'll see in a second the blood start to trickle out before there's any grappling engagements. Watch. There'll be a change of camera angle here in a second. You can already kind of see the blood trickling out a little bit, but not really. You can kind of see it. Look right here. Watch right here. Look, he winces again. Boom, let me pause that. What do you know? The cut's already open. There's a cut right there, and there's blood trickling out pretty good. Okay? Now, we're going to keep going, because then you're going to see more blood. Right there, you can see it coming out of the eye. It's clearly a bad cut. And then here is where he says the headbutt happens. Again, you can still see the blood coming out right there. I don't think I need to pause it anymore. You guys can see. Right here is where he said, oh, this brutal head clash is what cost me the fight. Right here. Ready? Ready? This is the head clash that caused this cut, even though he's already bleeding. That is it. They barely even touched. So whenever Sean Strickland says he lost the fight because of a head clash, remember it was this punch right here. That was it. It was Dricus Du Plessis' right hand, okay? He's going to say that in other interviews. We'll listen to a few clips. I don't know if we're going to watch that again. So there you go. It was not a headbutt, exposed badly. Looks like an idiot. Now, one thing I did like about this Brett Okamoto interview is he's called out for his boring-ass style. I've been screaming from the rooftops about how much of a hypocrite Sean Strickland is. He talks about going to war. He talks about bleeding for you guys. Then he goes out there and puts on the most boring performance known to man. He's called out about it here. Brett's like, oh, you're a savage in the gym when you're boxing influencers, but then when you go out there, you shit the bed and look like a little beta male. Why is that? And he just makes up some mumbo jumbo about, well, it's going to be a chess match in the gym when I'm fighting elite guys. It's a chess match rather than me beating up on influencers.
I've seen you, and you've talked about it. The guy comes into this gym and is trying to show off, maybe fighting one of your amateurs. You put him in his place and you show like this killer instinct that everybody gets to see on camera.
AK, he's a gym bully. Everyone knows that Sean Strickland's a gym bully, especially in inexperienced guys. I want you to remember that for when he starts talking about Khamzat Chimaev later.
Some people, and I would say even myself sometimes, Eric sometimes, feel like, where is that in the fight? Like, go after it. Go have that like nasty edge to you.
When you're fighting world-class fighters, like we got Johnny Eblam out of Bellator here.
Yep.
You watch me and Johnny fight, it is a fucking chess match. Like you're fighting, it's like world-class level of striking meets world-class level of striking. You go watch the pinnacle of any sport, and you're like, well, why is it different? Because I'm fighting the very best.
Yeah.
So essentially he admits he'll bully guys in the gym who aren't good, but then when he actually gets in there with elite guys, he just jabs and teeps and refuses to actually fight and just tries to squeak out a really boring, defensively responsible decision, which he does time and time again. So this guy who's screaming to the death and we're going to go to war and we're going to bleed for you guys is just a total fraud is what he is. And then last clip we're going to check out from this interview. And again, I want you to remember, he's bullying guys in the gym because later when you hear him talking about Khamzat, you're going to want to remember that. Now here he just complains about Dricus wrestling. Apparently he doesn't like that it's MMA, okay? Which is going to be hilarious when you hear him in an interview later talking about Khamzat with the schmo and why he doesn't want anybody grappling him.
A handshake agreement, no takedowns. Why did you throw that out?
Not okay. It's MMA, dude. Fucking, but even wrestling, dude, it's like it's such a stupid scoring criteria. Like you could take someone down and keep them down for 5 seconds. How do you even score that? You did nothing. You took me down for 5 seconds. I get up and now I'm out striking you. How the even score that? Like as a.
But yet he jabs and teeps and does literally no damage but push the fighter away and refuses to engage, but he's complaining about guys grappling him. Okay. Okay, and this is it. We haven't even reached the tip of the iceberg here. Because in the next interview with DC, he really starts going after Khamzat Chimaev here, which I really think it's just really humiliating of him to do what he's doing because He just looks like such a hypocrite. And look, I mean, he's got this pedo mustache. I mean, I guess like father, like son, but man, he just Sean Strickland. If it wasn't for the fact that he's like this right-wing grifter who, grifts right-wing talking points, or some type of appeal to the right-wingers, the right-wing obsessed fan base of the UFC, he wouldn't have any fans. That's just the honest truth. And so he has to go after Chimaev now for what's something that's absolutely hilarious that he keeps regurgitating over and over and over again. Let's listen.
Oh, dude, he's even allowed in the country. That man's on a Homeland Security watch list. Calm down, dude. Are you kidding me? He became best friends with a dictator. I mean, dude, there is no lower human being on this earth than Chimaev. There is no lower human being on this earth than Chimaev. You became best friends with a murderer, and you took G-Wagons. Like, you're not a man, dude. You shouldn't be allowed in this country, but I'll fight you. Don't worry.
There's no lower human being than Khamzat Chimaev because he's friends with a dictator. Now, we're going to come back to that later in the video because at the media day, he goes on like a 2-minute unhinged rant about Khamzat Chimaev, which, I mean, was just an absolute disgrace. But let's stick with that Khamzat is the lowest of the low. There's no lower human being. Well, one thing I want to discuss that I feel like is a big topic in the MMA community is, people can't make fun of Strickland about his child abuse and this and that, and how dare you make fun of child abuse when anybody claps back at Sean Strickland and says something about his daddy like Dricus Du Plessis did, made him cry on Theo Von's podcast. And people are like, man, you can't joke about child abuse. How dare you talk about child abuse when Sean O'Malley said, at least my dad didn't fuck me, and Sean Strickland curled up into a little ball on stage, and O'Malley then repeated it. You can't joke about child abuse. You hear that from the Strickland fans. You can't joke about child abuse. Now, can you? Can you, right? And Khamzat's the lowest of the low. Let's see what Sean wants to do when it comes to parenting. There's no way he advocates for alcoholic rage beatings for children, right? There's no possible way you have him on video doing that, right?
Anyways, back to my rant about Americans. You guys are just soft motherfuckers. You got to get hit by your family more. We need to bring back alcoholism, maybe some drug abuse. Be good for you guys.
Just toughen them up.
Yeah, dude, yeah. Look at like
you grew up tough.
Yeah,
That's why you have that perspective.
I mean, you fucking dodge a couple beer bottles when you're a fucking kid. You harden up. I'm not saying that the world will be a better place with more of me, but you guys need to get hit by your dads a little bit more. Not even hit, not discipline. You guys don't need to be like, I didn't take out the trash, hit. You guys need to get like an alcoholic rage beating, and then you'll start fucking learning how to have, nuts.
So he's advocating for children to get alcoholic rage beatings, and then he's talking about children's genitals. That is Sean Strickland. If you want to say, oh man, that's just Sean being Sean, he's joking. I thought you couldn't joke about child abuse. Sean is. That's what he's doing here on Brendan Schaub's Food Truck Diaries. So, and by the way, I mean, Khamzat's the lowest of the low for being friends with a dictator. Again, we'll circle back to that later in the unhinged rant at the media day. But this is the guy who's a former neo-Nazi who's advocating for child abuse. He thinks women shouldn't be able to vote. He said a bunch of other reprehensible things. And, every single day he's trying to think about what crazy thing he can say next. But again, Khamzat's the lowest of the low, apparently. Which, again, at the media day, he says some shit that's just absolutely horrific. But I want to save that for when we get to that. Next clip from the DC interview. He talks more about Chimaev, which I just find this absolutely hilarious for a multitude of reasons. Listen to this.
So Chimaev would come to the gym. I know there's a clip like, me like being sarcastic. You're the best. Like he would just go and ragdoll low-level pros. Like, dude, I mean, there's one guy, a 55er, and he's like, he kind of has the same like style and he looks like my opponent. I'm like, yeah, dude, but he's had 3 fights.
So now Sean is complaining that Khamzat is a gym bully. What a hypocrite. You can't make this up. This guy's on video beating lower level guys up at the gym. This guy's on video not being able to drop an influencer because he has no power. He has, pillow hands. He's literally here. Oh, Khamzat was a gym bully. He was grappling guys. Oh my God. We're going to get Khamzat's response to that later, by the way. We'll get to that, but listen some more.
He stop beating the fuck out of this guy. There's so many guys in the gym you can fight. Mm-hmm. Stop beating this guy up. Chimaev's just a bully, man. And I mean, even like the crypto scam, like history does not. If you have an open, honest opinion on Chimaev, you're looking at a man that lacks all other dignity.
So you didn't know.
Chimaev lacks all dignity. He's a bully, and he cries about the crypto scam. Keep in mind, Sean Strickland is a Donald Trump sycophant who did a similar crypto scam recently. But all the people that he appeals to, because, again, Sean is a boring-ass fighter, he appeals to that right-wing, obsessed, Donald Trump sycophant fan base. They won't call that out. Sean looks like a massive hypocrite. He's talking about donating to a multi-billionaire politician who does the same things. Meanwhile, Khamzat's video was like a 5-second video that he didn't realize what it was, and then he fired his manager because of it. But Sean is now saying he's the lowest of the low for that. Meanwhile, think of all the reprehensible things that Sean has said. But we'll get more to the Khamzat stuff in a little bit. Last thing I want to look at from this interview, because I went and watched all these and got the most important parts out of them, is him crying again about the DDP mythical head clash. I mean, it's all an aberration. It never happened.
That's what it was. The cut changed the optics so much to where you're not going to have that. You're not going to have that this fight. You're not. I mean, again, maybe we are. The guy puts his head down and goes fucking full send. Yeah. But I just don't think you're going to have that this fight.
Does it have to look a little cleaner, this performance for you? Like look cleaner in the regard
I
of
got hit too much. I mean, I didn't get hit till after the headbutt, but I don't like getting hit. Every time you get hit, it's like you're playing a game when you're losing the game.
Yeah, you want to hit him.
Again, crying more about a mythical head clash that never happened. It was a right hand that cut him open, but he's got to continue to cry and make up excuses for why he lost the fight. I mean, this guy is just the ultimate hypocrite. I think it's a little low IQ. I think it's really the low IQ, but massive hypocrite. Let's jump ahead to the media day, which is probably what you guys all want to see. And we got more even after this. Again, we got to get the Khamzat interview. We got to get to another Sean Strickland interview from a while ago. And yeah, I mean, we have a lot to check out. But let's get to the media day. Okay, first off, since when I do these videos and I research these videos, 95% of the time I watch the full source material. I sit through it all because sometimes there's little bits and pieces that don't get posted on social media. And I found this little gem from the media day, which I did not see anywhere else. So if I didn't watch this entire thing, I would have never found it. And it's just absolutely hilarious how dumb Sean Strickland is. By the way, guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Like the video, share the video. I would greatly appreciate it. Listen to this. He says one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And then he says, yeah, I'm a thinking man.
But anyways, I regress. Like, as a thinking man.
I regress as a thinking man. It doesn't even matter what he's talking about. There's no context needed. He's talking about something. He says, I regress as a thinking man. Because keep in mind, I realized watching this interview, it took me 3 different, this is like a 25-minute media day. It took me like 3 different sittings to watch this because it was so annoying. This is like a weird uncle who's obsessed with politics and has to bring it up at every holiday dinner, essentially, because he's a weirdo, because he's super low IQ and he's obsessed and invested in social media culture, and he's hyper-focused on the news, and he's one of those weirdos. And if you watch my channel, you know what I'm talking about. I hate those people. They're just hyper-obsessed with politics, and that's what he's doing. And then he's like, oh, yeah, man, I regress. I'm a thinking man around here. This whole entire media day was unhinged. But let's click ahead, okay? Let's jump ahead. Because this, I find particularly disgraceful because earlier in the interview, he's talking about all the innocent people that died in Palestine. And then just a mere couple minutes later, he has the audacity to laugh and say something like this. And I find this even more hypocritical because, again, he's saying Khamzat's such a terrible person because he's friends with a dictator, which, again, we'll get to in a little bit because he goes off on like a 3-minute rant about Khamzat Chimaev. But this is what he has to say about Israel and Palestine. Listen to this.
Yeah, you were, you fucking scummy bastard. Hey, you know what? Actually, my first girlfriend ever was a Jewish. Is it different? Is it better to say Jewish? I'm actually really pro-Jew, you know? It's like, and people like don't understand this. Like, you know, I would I mean, you know, go full send Israel, enjoy, have at it. I just don't want to pay for it. But
Have at it. Go for it. Literally like 2 minutes earlier, and I'm not going to play we don't need to get into all of it. He's talking about innocent children dying, and now a minute later he's laughing and saying, "Oh, have at it." Meanwhile, Khamzat's the bad guy, by the way. But we're going to get into why he really doesn't like Khamzat. Let's jump ahead because we're going to come back to kind of all this. We're going to circle back towards the end of this video. But let's jump ahead. We got a little bit more to check out. Again, crying about the headbutt in every interview. I just got to show you again.
now, guys, that only happened because a dirty fucking Dutchman hit me with a headbutt. You know how hard it is, dude? Like, I mean, how much blood you got running through your eyes? Like, it would have been an easy fight if it wasn't for that. I'm going to put that retard back on his short bus, and I'm going to send him to fucking preschool.
By the way, in all the interviews of Sean in the lead up to 312, he barely says anything bad about Dricus. That's the worst thing he said about Dricus this entire time. You know why? Because Dricus bullied him and scared him. He's scared of Dricus. The first press conference, the seasonal press conference before UFC 297, he was going at Dricus. Dricus then made him cry on Theo Von's podcast. Then Sean has been nothing but nice to him since. That is the worst thing he said about Dricus in the entire lead up, because Sean is a bully. He's a bully in the gym, but also he's a bully in real life. And he's the type of beta male soy boy that if you stand up to him like Dricus did and made him cry on Theo Von's podcast, he immediately hides away. So now, instead of crapping on Dricus in any way, the most he says was that right there. He goes after Khamzat. He's found the target in Khamzat. And towards the end of this press conference, he launches into an entire diatribe about how he doesn't like Khamzat Chimaev. And we're going to get to the backstory here in a second, even if this is a little bit longer video. Listen to this. And it just shows, you know, I hate this term, but it's become a new term that I've become familiar with. He's clip farming here. That's all he's doing. You can see, man. He lashes out at Khamzat. Then he's, oh, you make sure you guys clip that and post that. Was that good? Was that good? Because that's what he's doing. He's looking for a viral clip. That's what he wants. He wants that attention.
I mean, is it made in America? Do they make the belts in America? We need to, hey, someone track me down. Do your job, dude. Is UFC made in America? I know the roster's not, but at least they could do the belt. I know. With that little kind of the Chechen horse Chimaev. Hey, we need to talk about this. One more thing before we get out of here. We need to talk about Mr. Chimaev. All right? Let's talk about this fucking guy.
Because, again, he wants the clout. Luckily, Belal and Khamzat know this, but we'll get to that in a second.
I keep hearing Chimaev this, Chimaev this, Chimaev that, but what does the history and facts say about Chimaev? And you guys are media. You should know this. Chimaev fled Chechnya with his family because, you know, an oppressive warlord dictator that killed people indiscriminately. No hate
He did not flee. He went to train in Sweden. Okay, he did not flee.
on him. It's your country. He goes back to Chechnya. You know, he goes back to Chechnya because somebody wants to buy him a G-Wagon. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'll be that whore. I'll do it. I'll fucking bend the knee for you, man. I like fucking G-Wagons. And then what happens? The leash gets way too tight. And you know what? I think the U.S. government kind of looks at him like a terrorist now. Why? Because people get murdered all the time in Chechnya and they completely violate human rights. So now Chimaev's scared as shit. Like, oh man, dude, I wanted to be a whore, but I didn't want to go full tip. Now he fucking flees to like somewhere in the sand pit. And now he's hiding out in the sand pit. And now what does he do? Fucking Chimaev, what does he do? He has a Bitcoin fucking scam, and he scams all his fans. And let me tell you guys something. I had the same Bitcoin scam offered to me. It was like 200,000, and I was like, no, fuck you, dude. I'm not going to scam my fans.
Again, this guy is the guy that donates to a guy who did the same thing and hypes up the guy who did the same thing 24/7. Okay, that's all he talks about 24/7.
I don't need money that bad. But that's what Chimaev did. So, yeah, Chimaev, you can fight. You can fight. You know, you got a beard. But let history record it as, you, sir, are a whore. You fled a country, you went back and you got buddy-buddy with a dictator and you fled again. Doesn't matter how good of a fighter you are and will always be a fucking whore. That's a good one, right? Clip that, send, post.
Showing back here.
Literally just looking for a viral moment. And, you know, that was a lot of nonsense from Sean Strickland. I'm not going to sit here and break down the nuance of the situation. But I have seen people in the past criticize Khamzat for his relationship with Ramzan Kadyrov, okay? And what drives me nuts about that, because I understand that it's not preferable for him to have that relationship. By the way, Strickland saying he's fleeing here and he's fleeing there and he's leaving and he wants to go back and get a G-Wagon and this and that. That's just Khamzat traveling the Middle East, okay? Because he's trained in Sweden, he's trained in Saudi Arabia, he's trained in Chechnya. There's no fleeing, there's no going here, going there, going here, going back for a G-Wagon. He has a relationship with Ramzan Kadyrov because what other option does he have? I would, for anyone who's going to criticize him, say he shouldn't have this relationship with him, what are the other options? What is the alternative? You can say what you want about Ramzan Kadyrov being a bad person, being a terrible person, being a warlord. Keep in mind, again, Sean was just laughing about innocent kids being killed over in a Middle Eastern war. But I'm just curious, for people who are criticizing Khamzat for that relationship, I would love to know, what is the alternative? You know, if you want to criticize Gaethje for hanging out with him or criticize Usman for hanging out with him, fair enough. Fair enough. They're Americans. They live in America. They don't need to. There's not any... But what is Khamzat going to do if he has family there? How is he supposed to sever that relationship? There's really no option. And to act like it's some weird thing, and the only thing I can think of that Sean is maybe referencing is maybe he heard behind the scenes, Khamzat has his Saudi Arabia visa or green card. Maybe he needed to do that to distance himself a little bit so now he can get into the country. But Dana White obviously has a friend in the U.S. president now, so I don't think it'll be any problem. They'll be able to get Khamzat into America now. Maybe that's what he's kind of referencing. But I just think it's embarrassing when Sean says all these horrible things 24/7, and now he's crying. Oh, Khamzat's a little whore. He's a little whore for Ramzan Kadyrov. I keep wanting to say Kadyrov because that's what I used to say, but it's Kadyrov. It's just, it makes Sean look so unbelievably dumb. And it's all because he doesn't like Khamzat, because Khamzat has absolutely wrecked him in the gym in the past. And if you don't believe me, you can hear what Khamzat has to say. And you don't believe Khamzat, in a second, you're going to hear what Sean has to say. So let's listen to what Khamzat has to say. Khamzat, this was over a year ago. This was around the same time that Michael Chandler was leaving his family for a Conor McGregor fight. This was January of 2024. Khamzat says that he whooped Sean Strickland in the gym. And then he says that Sean's a fake tough guy, essentially. Listen to it for yourself.
Dricus is not the first one to say it, but he's like, I mean, Sean said it as well. They both said it. They're like, this guy hasn't earned it. And I will say that they're not wrong that you have not beaten, one of those top 5 guys at middleweight. So for you, I want to know why you believe, why are they wrong? In addition to the money, why are they wrong?
Ask that guy who was beating him up every day in the gym, man. So how many times I submit that guy? How many times I beat him up? He went to his coach, man. He went to his coach, please tell the guy, man, go easy, go easy. And the guy going with this different, he said, like, I went crazy with the guys who was going 166 or this shit, man. He's lying, man. He's lying. He trying to, like, he say, I'm man, I'm this, I'm that. I'm against the game. He's trying to be some macho, man. You're not macho, man. When I punch you hard, you went to your coach and said, please tell the guy, go easy, easy. No, fuck off, man. What are you talking about? I beat you up. Was running from me. I be in his home, man. I be in his gym. Nobody never comes to my gym and trying to beat me up,
So Sean is mad that Khamzat beat him up in the gym. But also, he can't talk any crap about Dricus because Dricus already made him cry. So he's now directing all his trash talk to Khamzat. And I said this in my prediction video. I kind of want Strickland to beat DDP. Even though I really want DDP versus Khamzat, I would love to watch Sean get beaten up by Khamzat Chimaev for being such a beta hypocrite soy boy. And if you don't believe Khamzat, Khamzat's lying, man. Well, luckily we have an interview of Sean admitting. I mean, look, first off, look at this. Look at his body language when talking about Khamzat, because he knows he'll lose to Khamzat. But let's confirm it. Did he get beat up by Khamzat in the gym?
He's gonna run through him.
Well, what'd you learn from yourself going up against that guy? The Schmo saw you two going at it. You were paired together during the grappling and obviously the striking.
I don't know. What'd you think?
Well, I thought he was good competition.
Yeah, what did you think, though?
Well, I thought you both learned from each other.
What did you think, though, watching?
Well, I think you held your own standing, but on the ground, he does what he does.
Did he fuck me up on the ground? I want your honest opinion. Tell me.
He made you tap a couple of times. The schmo saw it, but do you want the world to know this stuff or what?
You could tell the world.
You got tapped a couple times by Khamzat in the gym.
Listen, guys, jiu-jitsu, I do the fucking man game, the fucking man dance.
Yeah, he jabs and teeps. If Khamzat wants to jab and teep with Sean, he'll beat him at that game. So all this, to summarize all this, Sean is just looking like a hypocrite like usual. Luckily, one of the smartest fighters on the roster is Belal Muhammad, who's calling out Strickland perfectly for his crappy behavior and just embarrassing him badly. Belal said, crazy that Chimaev finished Whitaker and Amavov finished Izzy, but the guy that teeped Costa 150 times is getting a title shot. But we all know he's good at crying and using his mouth. No diddy. I just heard it from his dad. Which again, people are going to be like, man, Belal's making fun of child abuse. He's making fun of child abuse. Do I need to show you guys this clip again? Do we need to go through this clip again?
Yeah. Look at like
You grew up tough. That's why you have that perspective.
I mean, you fucking dodge a couple beer bottles when you're a fucking kid. You harden up. I'm not saying that the world will be a better place with more of me, but you guys need to get hit by your dads a little bit more.
There you go. And he says alcohol of rage beating. I'm not going to put you through the entire clip. So I don't want to hear anybody complaining about Belal Muhammad absolutely bodying him because Sean has Dana White privilege and has used his mouth to get a title shot. That is a fact. Then you also have him quoting the same clip I showed you guys earlier about Sean saying, yeah, Israel, just have at it, laughing about innocent people dying in a war. And Belal quotes the video and says, definition of human trash, deserves everything his dad did to him and more. Okay, again, if you want to cry, now all of a sudden the people who are so sensitive about Sean, how dare you, Belal? But they always defend Sean Strickland when he says similar abhorrent stuff. When this guy gets a taste of his own energy, then it's not okay. Just like when he cried on Theo Von's podcast, how could Dricus talk about my childhood? Meanwhile, he laughed about a dude getting hit by a bus. Laughed about him, okay? Many other things. Khalil Roundtree, when he was, thinking about something that starts with an S word when he was a teenager and thinking about ending it all, and Sean made fun of him for that. And everyone defended Sean. Man, Sean's so funny. I realize there's a group of like pathetic, insecure men who follow Sean Strickland, not because of his fight style, but they're like, man, Sean's so based, bro. He's so based. He made fun of minority. Oh, he's laughing at brown people, bro. Oh, he's using homophobic slurs, bro. He's so based. I mean, that's just the facts. And then somebody responds and says, look at him. His dad beating him was the best thing to happen to him in life. And this is the perfect tweet from Belal Muhammad right here, if I've ever seen it. This is facts. The best thing that happened to him is the attention he gets from racist losers that cheer on his stupidity, so he continues it because he knows that scared little boy in him always comes out in the fight and he never backs up the macho talk. That is facts. That is facts. Sean loves the attention. He says more and more ridiculous, abhorrent stuff just so he can get the attention of fans that he can't get with his fight style because he goes in there and backs up and jabs and teeps the entire time. So he's like, oh, yeah, let me attack brown people. Let me attack people who are homosexuals. Let me attack lesbians. And Dana will be like, man, we had lesbians up on stage. There's no homophobia around here. And then all the incels will be like, man, this guy's so based, bro. This guy is so based. That's essentially what goes on. So shout out to Belal for absolutely ending him here. And then you have Khamzat. Khamzat just posting this picture with laughing faces. I wish he would have said, man, nice pedo mustache, like father, like son, I guess. I wish he would have said that. And then lastly, you have Khamzat. I don't think this is actually Strickland's dad. I'm not 100% sure. But he said, why are you a baby crying all the time? Father didn't give you love, or he showed his love to you too much. Which, again, I know people are going to say is horrible. And as a general rule, I don't think that it's good to go around making fun of people who were abused as children. But at the same time, when you were a habitual line stepper, like Sean Strickland is a habitual line stepper. And at some point, you have to match that energy. You get back what's coming at you. And that's what Khamzat Chimaev is giving back to Sean. That's what Belal is giving back to Sean. And then Sean, instead of, manning up, you have to be man first, like Marab would say, and going in the cage and actually doing something about it, he'll just go cry on Theo Von's podcast. He'll just make more hypocritical statements. He'll cry about how could they? He tried to get Dricus canceled, basically. And then he privately messaged Dricus and begged him for forgiveness and said, please, Dricus. That should have been the end of Sean's career right there. Please, Dricus, don't talk about me. I'll do anything. He literally said that. I made an entire video on it. He begged Dricus not to talk about him. Then publicly he threatened Dricus to make it look like Dricus stopped because of the threat, but really Dricus stopped because of the DMs. Luckily, Dricus is a smart guy. He realized what was going on and outed him at the press conference for UFC, or the media day for UFC 297. Again, I have a video on my channel if you care to go check it out. But yeah, Khamzat absolutely bodied him. Belal absolutely bodied him. Strickland really bodied himself. He embarrassed himself here. I mean, so many hypocritical statements saying Khamzat's the lowest of the low because there's a guy who runs the country he lives in or lived in and he has family there and he can't sever a relationship with him just because he may not do things that are particularly great, okay? For lack of a better word, lack of a better explanation. Strickland got embarrassed here like he always does. If he wins, I can't wait to see him versus Khamzat, to be honest. I'm not into kind of like the fake drama, but I feel like a Khamzat Strickland build-up will be very fun, even though I think Strickland's corny and listening to him is very corny. I think it'll be a very interesting build-up if that fight happens. So I'm kind of hoping Sean wins a boring-ass jab and teep decision against Dricus. But either way, any matchup with Khamzat next will be hilarious. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.